My name is Kanjana Thepboriruk. I teach Thai language here. I'm also a research affiliate at the Center for Southeast Asian Studies. I am technically trained as a phonetician and linguist, but I mostly do historical research and also oral history, and I do a lot of advocacy for language education and also heritage language learning. For those who are not familiar with heritage language, is the language that we speak at home, but is not spoken in the mainstream media, or is not the language that we are educated in. So I'm going to talk about a couple of tools that you can use for public-facing research, right, or for your own PR in this funding climate, right? I think we need to speak outward more in terms of communicating what it is that we scholars and academics and professors and educators do, right? And how our research benefits those, especially for us in the public institutions, benefit the taxpayers that quote unquote pay us. That's the narrative. So I'm going to talk about the One Button Video Studio. That's the full name. I like that the abbreviation is OBS. And then also how you can use podcasts, right, in your education, in your advocacy, and in your research. Here are my students and one teaching assistant using the One Button Video Studio as a part of our class activity, learning activity, assessment, and public-facing scholarship all at once. So I'll explain that in a little bit. And I thought I'd do like a studio photo so it looks like, behind the scenes kind of thing. Okay, so the One Button Studio OBS, we have two locations, one that is open to faculty and students in the Founders Memorial Library, and you can book this by the hour right through the library website. The other one is reserved for faculty and staff and teaching assistants, so instructional staff at the Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning, or CISLL. So some benefits. For pedagogical use, I've used the studio to record video lectures and tutorials. So I do these little tutorials for foreign language and heritage language learning class. I think we've all learned another language in our life in this room. When we learn a new language, we always maybe need that extra, like, I want to go back and look at the grammatical rules again. I want to hear the pronunciation again, right? Lots of cognitive research. Depending on which article you read, the minimum number of repetition and exposure that you get will help you retain, right, or process that information. So I would record these 5 or 7 minute tutorials for my students that focus on specific grammatical structure, specific pronunciation, the Thai writing system, which is non-Roman, right, which could look squiggly to newcomers, but pointing out the patterns to them so that my students have these digestible bites of language and that they don't feel like they have to put themselves on the spot in class to have me repeat it if they feel like they need more time than other students. And they could do it on your own. And of course, if you upload it to Kaltura, which is also a free tool that we have, then your videos are on Marketplace. You can do a video quiz, check for comprehension, check for participation. Right, backward design, right? I also use it for assessments and assignments. For language learners, it's really good to create or find real-world use for that language. So you're not just reciting the language and the structure just for the sake of repetition, just for the sake of learning. So for my intermediate and for my advanced Thai language students, I have them create Instagram content for our program account. Right? So this is for real people. You're going to use Thai language in ways that not just me is going to assess and be able to understand you, right? Because I have a sympathetic ear. If my students even get remotely close to what I want them to say, I'm just so happy, right? But if other Thai native speakers are listening to them, they have to be able to, even with their possibly highly accented speech, convey whatever it is that they want to say. And it's a mode of communication that our students are familiar with, so I don't have to cover what an Instagram reel looks like, right? I can skip that part. I don't have to scaffold that part. And then also I use it for them to go and record their presentations. Because they can only reserve it for 1 hour at a time, it puts the pressure on them to rehearse and prepare and be ready because their time is going to be up. right? You can do as many takes as you want within that 1 hour period. So it kind of creates like real world, when you are using language in a real world setting, you're not gonna have your notes, you know, or Google Translate, because what if you're traveling in Thailand, you don't have a SIM card, you don't have Wi-Fi, because that's the argument, right? I can just Google Translate. I'm like, do you have a Thai SIM card? Are you gonna have a Thai SIM card when you go to Thailand, or are you gonna be that person like, let me pull up my worksheet when you talk? That's not real world usage. I also use this for community engaged projects. So I work on a Thai American oral history project as a way to encourage Thai Americans to continue to use their home language beyond just getting yelled at by their moms, or beyond by telling their parents that they're hungry, or you know what have you. And I do this through translation projects. Their Thai language is not a language that people think about when they are developing community translations. Even in LA, where there is the highest number of Thai language users outside of Thailand. So for my advanced Thai language classes, we actually field documents from Thai serving community organizations, and we translate it into Thai for them as a pedagogical activity, right? The students get better at Thai, the community benefits, and of course they'll look through the translation and make sure that it serves and is level appropriate for their audience, right? But either way, it's free translation. If they want to hire me to translate it as a professional translator, right, which is something that I also do, they don't have that kind of funding, right, for NGOs. We also make advocacy and educational video, and that was the picture that you saw. So for that class, we found a pamphlet that encourages the continued use of the home language. For the parents, oftentimes, you know, we want the kids to fit in, we don't want them to have accents, there's a lot of misconception, probably no one in this room has that conception, that if you're bilingual, you're gonna have trouble learning language, right? It's the opposite. But it's part of my advocacy work is to convince and educate Thai parents that they should continue to use the Thai language because of the lifelong benefit of bilingualism. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir in this room, but that's still a common misconception. So we do a lot of videos to educate parents. And beyond that, for research, I use it for participation recruitment. In this day and age, right, where flyers aren't really quite the way to go, or not the only way that you can recruit participants. And this is public facing as well. So you get a chance to explain the benefit of participating, the requirements, and then you can also provide, you know, like a QR code where people can just scan and fill out your Qualtrics. You share it through social media, and it's a high quality, good lighting, so you're not doing like a film noir office recording, looking like a Hitchcockian researcher. And the sound is also very nice. And again, you can do as many takes as you want, right? No one's gonna barge in your office or knock on your door in the middle of your recording. I also use this to create deliverables for my grant funders. Right? We always have to do that end of grant report summary. Sometimes we get invited to the conference where all of the recipients of this grant has to kind of show off what it is that we do. I just play the video, right? I do the video, I spend all that time spending the video. I play the video at this end of grant conference, and then if anybody has questions, and then they can share it, right? Then the grant funders can also like share it on their account. They can share it to whoever they're accountable to. And it's a lot easier to share a video than, of course they still make us do the 20-page report, right? The summary, but they have something deliverable that they can easily share. I also use this for reporting, right? End of grant reporting, research summary presentation. This is all that we have to do. It's not good enough that we do the research. We have to do this thing after the research as well. So it forces me to be able to do it in 7 minutes, which is a good challenge because it really pushes me to say, okay, what was actually important from my outcome, right? How do I translate this for the public? I have also used this as a way to ask for more funding. So I can link this on the proposals that I have. And then for more researchy research, you can create visual linguistic stimuli. Right, so what I've done is I found videos or have made videos or have had people make videos of non-linguistic videos, just a narrative, and then have language learners narrate what's happening. And then I can study their syntactic structure, right? Whether certain levels of language learners favor certain structures more than others, so I can look out for it in class, compare between different types of bilinguals, right? Thai dominant bilinguals versus English dominant bilinguals in their narrative structure, aspect markers, how that is different, because we're using the same narrative thing, and we're not leading them with language, it's just events, right? So they're watching just events happening on the screen, and we can control the stimuli, we can control the speed, and then everyone watch it one time, and then the second time they have to describe it as it goes, right? What's happening. In case you're doing non-Western language research as well, I've only found one automatic transcription software for Thai. So if you are working with less commonly taught or less commonly used languages, do reach out or try look up Happy Scribe. They have non-imperial languages, real-time transcription. And it's about 70–80% correct. And you have to go through your transcriptions anyways, right, for language research. So as I go through it, I just fix it or have my research assistant fix it. I'm happy to show off Happy Scribe, my one and only hope in Thai language transcription. Okay, so if you're sold, now what? You want to use the One Button Studio. It does not have chairs, however, so if you want to do a podcast or a longer video, I would recommend either asking for the use of chairs or figure out where to somehow to sit. If you're using the one in the library, maybe just drag some chairs from the lobby and just use it. If you're using the one at CISLL, they can provide you chairs if you want to do a podcast. So you choose your location, then you make a reservation right through either the library website or CISLL. You prepare 2 USB-A external thumb drives, one for your presentation, so if you're using a script, it'll show, or your background, and then one for your recording. Rehearse your material, of course, and then record, and you're set. In terms of podcasts, you can use the One Button Video Studio for a podcast. At the Center for Southeast Asian Studies, we have our own podcast studio, so you can see me here doing some podcasts, and if you want to check out our podcast, you can scan the dinosaur QR there. We're available on SoundCloud and also on Apple Podcasts. We're working on transitioning to other more common podcast platforms like Spotify and so on, but we haven't gotten there yet. I do hire a sound recording student from the School of Visual and Performing Arts, and he's my producer. I can do it myself, but who has the time, right? Because as a phonetician, you can do sound editing and sound production because that's what you do, but it's good professional development for him. And I wrote that into the grant that we use to produce this podcast. For this podcast, we also developed teaching materials that high school and college community educators can use as a learning module in conjunction with the podcast, right? So if you are getting federal grants, may they still exist, and you're accountable to have publicly accessible materials, this is a great way, in addition to your end of grant summary, to record a podcast and then create a learning material out of that. So we use this for our Introduction to Southeast Asian class, right? We assign this and they have to engage with it, and then we talk about it in class, or a student is responsible for one episode and then they're leading the discussion in the class. So there are lots of ways that you can use podcasts. People do book launches with us, they do book talks with us, they do field reports with us, so we actually dive in about their research. We find that some of our listeners also use it as a preview of the research before they read the article, before they read the book. Our graduate students use it as a way to kind of get their brain thinking about it, any topic more deeply. And then some people just listen to it while they fold laundry, so this is what I've heard. So lots of ways that you can share your research with non-specialists and the public, and I think it really, in this day and age, it really helps us to secure more funding. It helps us engage with the public so that they can understand it in a way why it's important that what we do, because we feel so deeply that it's important, right? Everything that we do, but maybe other people don't understand. And I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, and it is a difficult skill to be able to talk about your research in a way that somebody who's folding their laundry can understand, right? But it's a good challenge because that's the skill we need to teach our intro classes, our survey classes. And yes, please drop by, listen while you fold laundry or drive. Thank you. So the question was how to use video recordings or the studio for participation recruitment. I do the video version of what we used to do for posters, like when we were in grad school, right? So it's the same information, but it's me talking to them. So I was like, hello, my name is Kanjana Thepboriruk, and we are studying how people tell stories. And you can mask it, you can shield it blind it however you want, right? So the recruitment that I made for the narrative structure was we are studying how various types of Thai speakers tell stories. So in this study, you'll see a video where you'll describe what's happening on it. If you are a speaker of Thai as a first language, or you're learning Thai, or you grew up speaking Thai, you can be a participant in this study. And then I give them the detail, and I share it on Instagram, or I forward it to other colleagues so that people can just watch. Especially if you're looking for participants 18 to 24, they're not going to open a PDF attachment, right? Sometimes I don't even see it in the email. And so like colleagues have played it in class, right? And they're like, oh, QR, and then they scan it, lure them with an Amazon gift card, Starbucks gift card, right? And it's a really quick way to get people to do it, especially if they can do it remotely, the study as well. I just have them record their description. It could be audio or video, because I'm not doing any facial studies. It's just the language that they use. What does a grant summary video look like? What's in it, right? It all depends on what the funders want. So for example, one of our funders, the Henry Luce Foundation, funds a lot of Asian area studies. They always make us get together at the end of the grant and then show, okay, during the last 5 grant period, what were the various projects, what were the deliverables, and what are some of the publicly accessed information. So because that's the stipulation, right? So we just go down the bullet point of the stipulation. Here's how we publicly engage, how we had community collaboration. And so the video was just outline what we do. It's exactly like the end of grant presentation, but video, and we send it to them, and then they can kind of show off on their website, right? Here is a grant recipient who did the Thai, it hasn't ended yet, but the Thai in Illinois Oral History Project. And here's some of the projects that we fund. So it helps them advertise themselves, which always helps you get more money. Yeah. I come from a background of sales training. I don't know if you can tell. Before I came back to get a PhD, I was a corporate salesperson. So everything I do is like, how do I get people interested in what I'm doing? Which, to be fair, that's teachers, we are salespeople. We are trying to sell our student on how interesting what we do is. We're trying to sell them on the idea of doing homework, right? We're trying to sell them on, so I think marketing and sales is kind of always what I'm pushing to do. It doesn't hurt for people to be more interested in what we do. And especially in our FSR as well, when public engagement and if we give interviews, I mean, you laugh, but it's true, right? We have a way to enumerate how the public views us as experts, right? So in a way, we have to train our graduate students and our junior scholars to market themselves, right? Your research is your product, because you can only get funding when you've gotten funding before, which is a flawed system. That's a different podcast episode, if you will, right? But how do we get people to know what we do so that we seem like someone who should continue to get support for our research? Is this type of stuff. What's interesting about studying linguistically the narrative structure is that when I train my graduate students to talk and do presentations or maybe a video abstract, I just lay it out on their board for them. Here's the narrative structure, right? And because I used to train people for phone sales, right? I'm like, okay, your intonation has to go down. Take a breath here, right? So I'm I'm almost like using Toby, like the intonation software on them in real time, because our brain, right, cognitive research shows that if you don't pause after this chunk of language, the person you're listening to can't process it. And we've all had those survey or sales call where they just have been saying the script for so long, they just right? And I always coach them when they call me and try to sell me something. I'm like, say that again, pause, turn down your intonation, breathe here, and do it again. And they're like, okay, hello, my name is, and they do, they're like, oh, that feels nice. I was like, doesn't that sound nicer? They're like, it does, thank you. I'm like, but no thanks on your product, right? And my partner's like, you don't have to train everybody that calls you. But I said, hey, if they can sell or get their survey results next time, you know, good for them, because I used to do that job, and you get judged based on how many people you can engage, right? Just like our research. So sales, academic, same thing. Yep. Yeah, I'm happy to do, like, if the graduate students are interested in practicing these, or even faculty, practicing these video, I'm happy to help.